What's happening, guys? Shay here, Uneven Bounce. Hope you guys are well. So it is a wonderful sunny day outside, an extremely grey day for us English cricket fans as we contemplate the mauling again at the hands of India by 10 wickets in a test match that lasted less than 2 days. Quite phenomenal. A very short test match, I pointed out before, but there's a lot to talk about. So join me today on the show to dissect the whole thing. I've got Sayan Banerjee, aka Bosh or Not. You know I can't say without saying Bosh or Not, Sayan. You know what I mean? So I've got Joe Nuttall, first time on the show today. You've got Joe Nuttall 20 Yards podcast. I've got Aditya Mehta, Cricket Fanatics Magazine, back on the show. And for the first time on this channel in total, I've got Emily Norris here, also Cricket Fanatics Magazine. So go and check her out. Obviously, we'll discuss everyone later. But how's everyone doing?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Ecstatic after a victory.
Disappointed, but
I thought we might have seen, like, you know, you've seen Edgbaston a lot. You know, maybe I thought Aditya would be like draping the flag, the Indian flag, over his shoulders. You know, today, you know, just waving the flags and maybe, you know, say, oh, there we go. He's repping the hood today. There we go. Don't worry. We win or lose in it, Joe. Win or lose, man. You got to wear 3 lines of pride.
Got to rep England. Yeah. Got to
rep it.
I don't actually
man.
have anything England on today, but yeah, always on.
We know, man. Actually, I mean, obviously today it's. I mean, I'm gonna. The first topic I want to discuss. I know it's been talked about to death. We've seen it everywhere, all over social media, in fan forums, and kind of more professional outfits. The pitch has been discussed, obviously, but I do still want to get you guys' take on this. I'm gonna not have necessarily a typical go one by one conversation. We can just kind of open this part up to the floor. So anyone can just jump in. We can have a quick chat about the pitch. Because I know it's going to polarize opinion. I've seen many an Indian fan defending this pitch to the hilt. I've seen many an English fan ripping it to shreds. So I'll start with you, Joe. You guys can jump in. Emily, Sayan, Aditya, go for it. But I mean, okay, Joe, I'll start with you. As I said before, what did you make of the pitch? Was it worthy of a test match? Of a test match?
No. I mean, you looked at it, what, like 5 days out? It was like a New Zealand pitch in November, and then you go from that to what they played the game on. It was just awful. And I think Joe Root summed it up perfectly when he said, "You know, it's a bad pitch if I'm getting 5 for 8 on it." And not to take anything away from Joe Root, he's obviously a decent bowler, but it was not a good pitch. It was not. And again, that's not to say you couldn't bat on it, because Crawley and Rohit proved that you can. Rohit proved that twice, that you actually can bat on it. But it was not a good pitch, was it, at all? So yeah, it was probably it was really disappointing from the Indian ground staff to prepare a pitch like that. Obviously, you're going to want to prepare a pitch in your side's favour. You know, England prepare green seamers for a reason. But to prepare one like that, it was just, it was not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, Aditya, always a calm, measured individual, as we've seen so many times on these shows. I mean, what was your take on this wicket?
Right, it's the $1 million issue right now. My take is, to be honest, I'm actually on the fence on this one, because I think if we're discussing the pitch, we also need to discuss the nature of the pink ball and how much the lacquer really contributed to the behavior of the ball, I'd say. Because if you look at the analysis of the game, 21 of 30 batsmen got out on balls that didn't turn at all. Or it was, I think, between 1.8 and 2.4 degrees of turn. Whereas balls that turned beyond 3 degrees did not get any wickets at all. So I don't know if that's intentional, like if the bowlers really plan to do that, or if batsmen were purely beaten by pace, because we do know that the pink ball comes on a bit faster than the red ball. So that's a question that we'd have to ask, and we'd hope that players perhaps are able to offer some reflections on it in the days to come. Having said that, we also need to think about, assuming this pitch was a conventional test match, where the red ball was used and, the test match was being played in the day, would it still behave the same way? So that's a question that we need to ask. Of course, as Joe said, that Rohit Sharma and Zach Crowley showed that they can bat on this pitch, and Kevin Peterson was also unequivocal in his assessment that this pitch was not unplayable, but both teams played pretty poorly on this pitch. So I don't know. I'm still on the fence in this one. I don't feel like the pitch was outrageous, but all in all, I think we're talking here. 2 days after a test match is over. From a 5-day test match, and I do feel a bit deprived as a fan. That I didn't get to see a 5-day pink ball test in one of the newest and obviously the largest stadium now in world cricket. So that's a bit disappointing. Also, feel for the broadcasters who've shelled out billions of dollars and they only get 2 days of content. So overall, it's a disappointing outcome. But I suppose factors are varying.
I mean, one thing I would dispute there, Aditya, I obviously you mentioned about the degree of spin and a lot of wickets taken. 2/3 of the wickets taken by straight balls. I think it's the balls in between, though, is what mentally got you. I remember how Ashwin set up Ollie Pope. I think 2 balls before his wicket that went straight on as well. It turned past his left shoulder, pretty much. So if you're a batsman, and obviously Ollie Pope's obviously young, still relatively experienced batsman, and you'll see in that, and then 2 balls later, one shoots on. Now, I know it's down to the skill of Ashwin. We'll get to him later, obviously, 400 test wickets. But I think that's a lot of the reason why the straight ones took so many wickets, because you were playing for what was turned 2 balls ago of a heavy degree of turn. So that's the problem, I think. There's the balls in between the wickets that allow the straight ones to do so well. Sayan, I'll go over to you. I've got a feeling what you're going to say. But, I mean, give me your take on this. Do you think that was really befitting of a quality test match pitch between 2 high-profile sides?
I mean, look, the pitch was mediocre, to be honest. It was not a great pitch for a 5-day test. It was it was a 2-day test pitch. And also the lacquer of the pink ball, as Aditya mentioned, right? So I think it was skidding more, and as it was a bit pacey pitch, right? So Akshar Patel was able to, with his pace variations and things, was able to skid it through the batsman, right? So, and also, as you mentioned, the balls in between, like some balls had turned a lot, and it was the balls in between that they were playing for the spin, but then it came straight, right? So they couldn't quite defend the ball. So that's what troubled the batsmen on both sides, not only the English batsman, but also the Indian batsman.
Okay. Emily, we'll head over to you. Obviously, as a neutral very much in this matter, what was your assessment of this wicket?
Yeah, to be honest, I was a bit surprised when I saw it. To me, it kind of looked like a day 5 pitch on day 1. So I was a bit surprised with it. I mean, obviously, there were ones that turned a lot, and then there was ones that skidded on. But I think, saying what Sayan was saying and what you were saying is that the batsmen weren't sure, was it going to turn or was it going to come on straight? And I think that was a bit of a problem. But I just think in terms of the pitch for like advertisement of Test cricket, or just the game in general, it wasn't good advertisement, was it? Because 2 days, you're trying to promote Test cricket to youngsters or to people out there, but then it only lasts 2 days. It doesn't really help the growth of the game. But like what Aditya was saying, I'm not sure if it's a combination of both the pink ball and the pitch. I would have liked to see if the red ball would have done a similar thing, or if it, if the fact that it was a pink ball and was skidding on, if that was the problem, or if the problem was that they were batting on like a dust pitch, dusty pitch. So look, I'm also sitting a bit on the fence. Yes, you can prepare a pitch that will help you. If you're playing at home, you obviously want to do that, but there's a degree to how much you do that if you want a competitive test match. And in my opinion, like that was not an equal contest between bat and ball. Ball definitely spinners. Let's take out pace ball. Let's just go spin. Spin had literally won that game. It was kind of who bowled the better spin, in my opinion, was the team that was going to win that match. So yeah, I also have varying opinions, but I think it's a combination of the two, perhaps. The day night, the pink ball, and the pitch. Yeah.
I mean, I think I've got nothing wrong. I don't think me and Joe. I think listen, we appreciate. Obviously, we do the same thing at home, man. We're going to do it this summer.
Oh,
It's India, especially now. We will paint this motherfucker green. Do you know what I mean? When they come over here, literally paint that fucker. Do you know what I mean? But listen, but outside of that, like I have no problem with India preparing a wicket that suits them, and they're gunning for a World Test Championship, the inaugural one. They want to win it. I get that. I'm cool with that. I just feel there has to be some semblance of balance there between the two, and I think the way they've gone about this, the curator. I mean, my understanding is that the curator from the first Test match got fired from the Test in Chennai, got dumped after obviously up to 16 out of 40 wickets got taken by seamers. They fired him. They brought in this guy who basically reenacted a pitch, which reminded that movie. You've seen the movie Twister? There was like dust, like the cyclones. Like every time I saw the ball hit the wicket, it was like the Twister, like the brown Twister. Like it.
Well, that's what it was like when Root was batting. Root kept doing that. That's what happened to Root when he was batting. It was like dust clouds. It was ridiculous.
Any wicket where Joe Root is up, any Test match where Joe Root has opened the bowling in the second day of a Test match, there's something wrong there. There's got to be something wrong. How could you not say? No, I appreciate Dominic Bess wasn't picked. I get it, and we'll get to that in a bit. The team selection, the competition was wrong, but still, Joe Root is coming on. Do you feel? I honestly reckon Dominic Sibley with his absolute filth.
Election, yeah.
He could have took 3 from. I'm not joking. Me, 10 years ago, could have took a wicket on that pitch. You could have put me on that. I'd have taken a wicket somehow. It was eventually, if you just land it 4, not even 5 out of 6, 4 out of 6, one will have their name on it. That's what I felt. Now, you also have to. I thought the comments on Rohit Sharma, there's a reason why they wheeled him out for the pressers. That was, to me, that was borderline propaganda. With Rohit Sharma's comments. I'm being completely brazen here, and you guys can dispute me, no problem at all. But I felt his comments of it was a perfectly fine wicket to bat on. I mean, come on. I have no problem that he batted well on that wicket, but don't tell me. Be honest here. You can't say that wicket was perfectly fine to bat on. It wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. It was it wasn't an awful wicket. It wasn't an awful wicket, but it was one of the worst wickets I've seen in a long time. I mean, I think 24 Test matches have lasted less than 2 days since the history of Test cricket. 24. I think it's 2,412 have occurred since the inception of Test cricket, and 24 have gone less than 2 days. And these are the stats that we need to look at here. Do you know what I mean? To give us some perspective to what's happened. But listen, just before we move on from the pitch, Sayan and Aditya, I appreciate I've gone pretty hard there. So if you guys want to retort, now's your time.
Yeah. Okay, I will. Look, I think the Indians are never going to criticize that pitch in particular, because of a number of factors. Look, one, this is the first game played at the new Motera Stadium, which is named after our current Prime Minister. The stadium was commissioned when the Prime Minister was the president of the Gujarat Cricket Association. Its construction was supervised by the now BCCI secretary, Jay Shah, who is the son of the Minister of Home Affairs. And the ICC needs a tax exemption for the World T20 happening in October. There is no way on the planet any of the cricketers are going to say anything that might upset the establishment. And I also don't believe that the ICC is going to. I'd be very surprised to see the ICC rate this pitch as average or poor.
I agree.
They want to have the World T20 in India, and they also want that tax exemption. So if they do anything of the sort, that's not going to go down very well with the Prime Minister and the other individuals involved with Gujarat cricket and with Indian cricket in general. So, I don't think we're going to get an honest assessment from the Indian players, and I think their hands are tied. I don't think they can be honest. But yeah, look, as a fan of Test cricket, I don't want to see a 2-day Test match. Simple as that. I think it's not as Emily very rightly mentioned. It's not a good advert for the game. and we just have to do better. And I think to do that, given that all series are now being played under the World Test Championship umbrella, maybe the ICC can just have a separate wing whereby they sort of regulate and centralize the nature of wickets across the world, because then they can determine how much home advantage is right, versus allowing individual boards to have their autonomy and then go completely bonkers with the sort of wickets that we've seen in the last two tests.
I think it's a very Sorry, Emily.
Sorry, can I just make a comment there? I think the fact that both teams struggled to bat on the pitch shows that it was was below par in that sense, in a competitive sense. I mean, yes, okay, Rohit Sharma, he was sort of looked like the only one who was kind of comfortable on it. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they India would have hoped for 200 plus, I assume, or 250 plus. The fact that they couldn't even get to 200, shows that it's not fit for Test match cricket.
No, fair points. I think very insightful as well, DT. It's good that you've obviously mentioned that. I didn't personally know some information that you mentioned there. I'm not sure if Joe did or even Sayan, but it's good to know that obviously there's a deep kind of background and context to this whole situation. And I don't expect them to come out and say, yeah, this pitch was a pile of crap, but maybe just even say it was maybe slightly difficult to bat on at times. Just maybe a measured comment, but maybe it was complete masking tape job all around. You know what I mean? So anyway, I just want to touch upon the team selection of England. I think India can say picked a very balanced side. I was a bit surprised, a bit sorry for Kuldeep Yadav, if you want to say that, for being dropped for Sundar. But Joe, I think obviously England to me picked a side and made an error, which is a borderline Nasser Hussain 0203 in Australia when we decided to bowl first at Brisbane. That was a clusterfuck of the highest order, in my opinion, to go with just one spinner. So, Joe, I'll get your opinion on that. What did you think on us not picking Dominic Bess? And also, I'd like you to tell me your thoughts on the treatment of Dominic Bess these past couple of weeks.
I think Dominic Bess has gone from being England's number one spinner, which we've seen in the summer, throughout the whole summer, to being, as you say, poorly treated, really, really poorly treated. To not pick, I agree that at least one of Broad and Anderson should have played. That's fine, and maybe Archer should have played. That's a bit of a debate. Maybe they should have played Wokes. If they were genuinely going for swing, maybe they should have played Wokes, who's naturally just a better swing bowler than Archer. But I think Bess should have played. I can't see why you wouldn't play two spinners. No side goes to India, or no side goes to the UAE, or no side goes to wherever in the subcontinent and plays only one spinner. That just does not happen. That's just common sense.
Maybe so Pakistan. A sub against Pakistan, maybe. Okay. But even that, you would argue. But I agree, India, Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
Bangladesh,
generally.
You play two spinners.
UAE, in the UAE, generally you play two spinners throughout the subcontinent, the majority of the subcontinent. So to not do that, even in white ball cricket, sides generally play two spinners anyway. But in the subcontinent, you see 3, 4, who knows, maybe even 5 spinners, including all-rounders, playing. So to not play two spinners as a minimum in that test, and then to try and almost get away with saying Root was that second spin option. Well, let's be honest, although he took a 5 for, Root is not an all-rounder. Stokes is an all-rounder. Yeah? Root is not an all-rounder. Root is just a batter who bowls very, very good off-spin, but not to all-rounder level. So to not play Dom Bess, and the way that they treated him, just shunned him down to being, they picked Moeen Ali ahead of him. Obviously, Moeen wasn't around for this test, but he was third choice the last test. So to treat him like that, for me, it was poor by England, and they had to play two spinners. I just say it was Hussain-esque, a Hussain-esque decision. That.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely appalling. I feel sorry for Don Bess. Well, he's taken 17 wickets at 22 this winter, and to drop, I don't know what's happened. It's just his stock has fallen so much, and this is a young kid. He's not even
bowled badly. That's the thing. He's not bowled. He's not bowled incredibly. Exactly. He's not bowled incredibly. Like he's not like his first five in Sri Lanka, that was extremely like lucky. All right, he didn't necessarily deserve that, but he still got the wickets. He's not necessarily bowled incredibly well, but he's not bowled badly. You know, as you say, he's taken 22 wickets and 17. Like you can't really ask so much more. What else can he do? And he scored, you know, the odd 30, chipped in with some runs. But yeah, like to not play best was just ridiculous.
Is he the English Kuldeep Yadav? I feel like that's a good comparison, right?
Yeah, I think like
English Kuldeep Yadav.
Yeah, you know, like the way I just think the way spinners in general are viewed upon in England is not necessarily good. You know, why did Leach not play throughout the whole summer when he was England's #1 spinner throughout the winter? All right, you know, he didn't really play much in South Africa, but he was there in the squad the whole summer. Didn't even look like getting a go, even when Best necessarily wasn't bowling well. So I just think England's whole outlook on spin bowling is not good. So, well, not necessarily the England supporters, more the England, you know, like coaching staff and like management and selectors. I think England really need to readdress that because you've got someone like Amar Verdi who's just sitting on the sidelines. You've got Crane and Parkinson there sitting on the sidelines. I say Verdi's probably
you got three spinners there as well.
Exactly. You know, if you're not going to play Best, that's fine, but then play Amar Verdi, who's a very, very talented young spinner, and offer something different than to what England have. Play Parkinson or Crane, who again offer something different to what England have already tried in the series, which is, by the way, worked. They won a test.
There's always somebody comments about, you know, on the field about some. You always hear from, you know, all cricket about a captain supporting a spin bowler. You've all heard that, a captain supporting a young spin bowler on the field. How often do you see about the team supporting this young spinner off the field? England, and you know what? Jared Kimber, have you heard his podcast, Red Inker? He did a fantastic show about England's approach to spin bowling about a month ago. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. It's brilliant. Joe, you must listen to that one. Very out, and it's come from a bloody Aussie, and he's got it nailed. And he's basically saying how we just pick up spinners and we discard them. Look at Mason Crane, for example. Think about Scott Borthwick in 13-14 series in Australia. You know, these guys, I mean, Mason Crane took it 4 years ago. He's been a test and he's gone. You don't see him again. Obviously, I know he's in the round the scene as a reserves, but, you know, our approach to handling young spinners is appalling. I mean, I think Dominic Best did a podcast recently with someone, I can't remember, about saying he was mentally quite fragile. He suffered with depression, or he had some kind of, I think he mentally fragile. He was indicating in a podcast. The England management know this, yet they're treating him this way. Now, it doesn't mean he's got a divine right to be picked, but I think this could have been handled a lot better about what's happened here. They knew Moeen was going home after the second test. So why would, after Best did, I think he took 8 wickets in the first test, correct me if I'm wrong. He'd been expensive, but he took 8 wickets. Yet they got rid of him. And in this test match, they've gone with Broad and Archer. Stuart Broad bowled 5 overs in the entire match. 5 overs. Geoff Archer bowled 6 overs in the entire match. Joe Root has bowled more than both of them, yet you're not picking your off spinner. I mean, I'm not sure what the technicalities on how late it is you can switch your team, but they would have seen the wicket on the morning of the play. They would have seen it before they announced the teams to the opposing captain, before Root told them. They would have obviously then had their team sheet, right? They could have switched it once seeing that wicket. It's just disappointing. But you know what's going to happen now? They're going to throw Best back into the mix for the 4th test. They're going to throw him in, for sure.
Yeah, and it may be a situation where actually he doesn't bowl well, and then they can say, I told you so. Or they will just look like complete idiots, and he will take 10 wickets in the match, and the England fans can say, we told you so. So it's a lose-lose, really, for Best, because either way, he's been mistreated. And it should have. The fact is, he and potentially one of Verdi, Parkinson, or Crane should have played in this third test that's just gone. As you say, you know, Broad and Archer bowled 11 overs between them. Like that is just, you know, Stokes could have just got by that on himself if they wanted another seamer, and they could have played 2 spinners. It was utterly pointless.
It's a ridiculous decision. Anyway, we'll move on from the sad case of Dominic Best, move on to slightly more happier a story with Ishant Sharma, who obviously reached 100 test matches, something that I never thought would happen after seeing him a few years ago. But well done, Ishant Sharma. I should reel off a couple of stats before we get into it. So over the last 3 years, from the 2018, he's taken 41 wickets at 21.8 in 2018. Obviously, if you always remember, he was superb over here in England during that 4 Test match series. 2019, he took 25 wickets at 15.56. 2020. Well, it was also curtailed Test series, wasn't it? Because he was injured for the Australia series. You can't really count that. But he averaged, he took 5 wickets at 15. This year so far, he's hit 50 overs, 6 wickets at 22.83. But he's obviously been a startling change in his form. If you look at from 2012 up to 2015, he's averaging, even up to 75 in 2012, early part of his career. 2017 is where I thought actually be dropped. I've averaged 37 that year. And I thought actually at that point that might be the end because we saw young fast bowlers from India coming through. And I thought that might be the end of Ishant Sharma. But he's had this, no pun intended, Indian summer to his career where he's just become rejuvenated. And so, I think just a credit to him because he's really changed his game. He's improved immeasurably the last 3 years. And to me, is the focal point of the attack, above Bumrah even in Test matches, and Mohammad Shami, etc. Aditya, I'll start with you. Just to give me your thoughts, obviously, on Ishant Sharma, his career, and his achievements on reaching 100 Tests.
Massive. Credit to him. Ishant Sharma has been brilliant. When he started out, he was this shining ray of light for Indian cricket because at that point we didn't really have bowlers who could bowl 150, like 140, 150, and we had this guy who was knocking over Ricky Ponting in his debut series, and he was clocking 152, 153 at that point. He's not doing that now, and that's fine. But I think what happened in the aftermath of that series was that for a period of time, obviously opposition studied him a bit. And maybe he wasn't able to evolve fast enough, and there was additional pressure on him because I think he was sort of handling the burden of that express fast bowling at that point. So that didn't really help him. But I do think that since Virat Kohli has become captain, the fast bowling contingent in India has got more direction. Where they have to have certain fitness levels. And each one is given a specific role. And so you see over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had Bumrah, we've had Navdeep Saini who can clock 150. We've got Mohammad Siraj, and there's this contingent now, and I think everyone individually knows what their roles are. Back in the day when you have fewer seamers, Ishant Sharma basically might have had to play the role of 2 or 3 seamers put together. So I don't think that helped them, but it's good. I think Virat Kohli is a very good fast bowlers captain, and that has certainly reinvigorated Ishant Sharma, and that's why you see what you see today with his numbers.
Sayan, do you want to follow up from that? Your thoughts on Ishant Sharma?
Yeah, so basically, I feel the difference in him, the 2014.
Oh. I think we've lost Sayan there. Emily, I'll go to you until Sayan unsticks himself. Obviously, as I said, it was neutral before, but what's your thoughts on Ishant Sharma in his career? How it's panned out over the last over a decade now?
I mean, similar to what Aditya was saying. I mean, I think Ishant Sharma has been sort of one of the main, fast bowlers for India over the years. People have sort of gone out, they've retired, they've come back, and there's been new bowlers that have come into the mix, but he's sort of been the constant. And he might not be bowling, necessarily as fast as he used to, but obviously he's older now as well. But he still does the job for India. So I mean, remarkable player for them. And he's definitely done. He's really helped them over the years. So brilliant bowler for them. And one of their best cases, I'd say.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Joe, you remember? I remember Ishant Sharma bounced us out at Lords 2014.
Yeah.
Who could forget that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just for an Indian fast bowler to come to England. I mean, how dare you do that? Do you know what I mean? That's a good man to come over and bounce out. But yeah, I mean, joke aside, that was a phenomenal performance from Ishant Sharma in that Test match. And I really thought at that point, I think he was like 26 years old, roughly that point. So I thought he'd kick on from there.
Yeah, he's only 32 now.
He's still so young. He's been around for so long, but I think just the way he's developed his game. I think a lot. There's I'm not saying there's a mirror image, but the way that they seem to have pigeonholed, very wrong word for it, but like compartmentalize Ishant Sharma's career into Test matches only reminds you very much of our England approach Broad Anderson as the best way to get the most out of the players. So I think that Ishant Sharma now, I think Ishant Sharma actually came out then recently saying that the World Test Championship is his World Cup. He was saying that because he's just pretty much, he's a Test player now. I mean, I know had the IPL stints, but I think he's pretty much a red ball specialist. So I think I think that's obviously helped him as well to work on his game, to know he's playing just that one format, now. Anyway, we'll go on to another champion of Indian cricket, and that's Ravi Ashwin. We discussed him last week, but I think we need to mention him again because I think he's a phenomenal player. The second fastest man to reach 400 wickets. Only the great Mattaya Muridharan obviously did it quicker. I think he's averaging just a slither above 25 as well. We've talked about the kind of fallacy of him only being a guy who takes wickets at home. Complete nonsense, as we saw last week. But again, I just want to acknowledge really his contribution to Indian cricket and world cricket. And so I'll start with you again, Emily, as someone who probably has a bit of the green eye will come out when you see a really good spinner. Being a South African fan,
yeah, we very very short of spinners, aren't we? And we that's why we can't also play a spin shame. But yeah, no, he's definitely. I don't know. I think he's one of the best spinners I've seen. Not just because he gets the ball to turn and most things, but like you said, he can do it all over the world as well. People have said how he could only only get wickets in India, but he shows that isn't true. And not just being a spinner, he's an all-round, he's a great all-rounder in my opinion. We saw that when he scored his 100 and took a 5 as well in the same game. I mean, he can accelerate a Test match or any match actually. He can accelerate it at the back end if he needs to, but he can also pick up wickets at crucial times. So yeah, for me, he's one of the best, not just spinners but all-rounders at the moment.
So thank you, Emily. Sayan, you're back with us. I can see you moving a little bit, so that's good. We were just discussing, we'll move on to Ravi Ashwin, obviously reaching 400 Test wickets. Where would you put him? Obviously, India have also produced legends of the game in the spin bowling department. Where would you put Ravi Ashwin in the kind of pantheon of Indian spinners over the last, say, 20 years?
Okay, so I really haven't seen Anil Kumble and Harbhajan Singh at their prime because I was not born then yet. But according to me, Ravi Ashwin, I feel is the best Indian spinner we have produced because of his longevity and his brain. I feel that's what makes him so dangerous for the opposition, right? His variations, he has worked on variations over the years, his carom ball, his dusra, his, the undercutter. So I feel according to me, he's the best spinner and probably one of the best all-rounders India has ever produced.
Excellent. Okay. Joe, just to finalise, I mean, obviously from an outsider's perspective, but what's your thoughts on Ashwin?
I think he's one of them players who is going to take wickets. But there's certain players who can be a bit hit and miss almost. Ashwin, is going to get, probably realistically get a fifer against you, it feels like, at least every game. Certainly 3 wickets. So, I mean, as Sayan said there, his batsmanship, I think, has been really gone under the radar. And he scored, the 100 he got in Chennai, he's not scored a Test 100 for years before that, had he? And he kind of got a little bit of stick for that when he was having a bit of banter with Tim Payne in Australia. He kind of got a little bit of stick for that, being reminded he's not actually scored a Test 100 for years. Not that Tim Payne has either. So he's not really one to talk. But I think Ashwin is he's quality. generally in his general cricketing game. And I know he's kind of moving away from the Test arena a little bit, but for me, he has to play for India in the World T20 as well. I feel like a player with that much skill and ability is going to be brilliant in any format, and we've seen him now do it in the IPL for years and years. So he's kind of almost proven himself again in white ball cricket. So yeah, I think for me, he has to play in the World T20 for India as well. He also obviously adds batting depth in their T20 side, but in Test cricket, he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, I was surprised that. I mean, Aditya, maybe you can give your opinion, but I was surprised that Chennai let him go in the IPL.
Yeah,
I remember him taking a new ball every time in the IPL. Especially at home, and it was phenomenal. But the thing is, he's gone through 3 franchises now, hasn't he? Punjab let him go as well.
He's in Delhi last year.
Yeah, he's Delhi last year, so surprised at that, really. I think he's one of the most intelligent spin bowlers I've seen for a long, long time. I think it was Anurag last week who said he might have an engineering background because the way he thinks about the game, I said, Joe, last week that basically with Ashwin, when he takes the ball, I feel like he's constantly thinking how to get you out, not just bowling the ball and putting it there. He's constantly thinking about how the batsman, the trigger movements, what they're playing, his field, where to bowl it to get each batsman out. I think it's incredible to watch. A real craftsman at work with Ashwin. When I watch Leach and Bess and our guys, it's like they're good, they're solid spinners, but I think it's more a case of ball.
They're not Ashwin. That's how I feel with Lyon as well.
Yeah.
Different kind of spinner, of course. Lyon doesn't have as much variation. But you feel like Lyon he's so confident. Same with Ashwin. These guys are so confident in their ability. Yeah. And they know they're gonna get wickets regardless. They're gonna end the innings with 3, 4, 5, 6 wickets, however many. Whereas with England, you kind of feel like maybe more so with Best than with Leach, is he actually going to pick up wickets? You don't. He's kind of, as I said before, hit and miss a little bit. Obviously, he's only young, so you're not going to expect him to get this many wickets. But with guys like Ashwin and Lyon, as I say, you're thinking they're going to get like loads and loads of wickets every single test, and they do scare you in any conditions. They scare you as an opposition supporter. But I do think one of the best things about Ashwin is definitely Rishabh Pant behind the stumps. Shouting "Good Ash" for 6 hours in a day. That's one of the best things about Ashwin. So long may that continue. But Ashwin is a very, very good cricketer.
Exceptional, yeah. If we move also now to the 4th Test match, which is next, it's 4th of March, so it's a Thursday. So I'm sure we're back in next Saturday probably. But anyway, so we got the 4th final Test match of the series. Looking ahead to it, Aditya, I'll start with you. What is your opinion? I've got to bring it up again, but what kind of pitch do you think we'll expect to get?
Certainly not like this one. I think after the media storm and the nature of the criticism that this pitch has witnessed, I don't think it's going to be the same. And I don't know if I said it on this show, but essentially the curator here has access to some 17 or 18 different types of soil. And for this particular pitch, soil was brought in from Mumbai, and it was sort of reproduced here for Ahmedabad. So that's why early on, when you're talking about the Test match via text, I said that it's a bit strange that a Mumbai wicket, essentially a Mumbai wicket, is turning on day one, because that almost never happens. Obviously, you have to take into account that Mumbai Stadium is by the sea and Ahmedabad is not. But essentially, I don't know what sort of wicket we're going to produce exactly, but I do think that they're going to try to produce a wicket that doesn't really turn square from day one. They have to. I think otherwise it's India's reputation on the line. And I don't know if behind the scenes there's some sort of conversation going on between the broadcaster and the BCCI, but I'm pretty sure that for the broadcasters who are shelling billions, they're not going to be very happy about 2 and 3 day tests. So they're going to want more, particularly for marquee series like this.
I think it's an excellent point. Do you feel like India will go unchanged?
Largely, yeah. I think we've been following a horses for courses sort of policy, but I think after Akshar Patel's performance, it's very hard to let him go. Ashwin picks himself, as does the rest of the team. So yeah, I don't think we'd we'd really have changes.
You don't think that maybe Kuldeep Yadav will come back in the Sundar?
No, personally, I'm a fan of Kuldeep Yadav, but I don't know. I think Kohli has reservations about Kuldeep Yadav because if you saw in the Chennai Test match as well, he didn't bowl Kuldeep Yadav a whole lot. And I'm not saying that Kohli is a terrible captain of spin, but I think Kohli is not the best captain of a spinner. I don't think he uses a spinner to control the game in the way that MS Dhoni used to use spinners, or perhaps the way Michael Clarke used Nathan Lyon, or the way Faf du Plessis used Keshav Maharaj. I think there's a certain skill that a captain needs to have in the way he deals with spinners. And Ashwin is gifted in that sense, in that he's such a brilliant spinner, and so therefore he doesn't really need that sort of tactical assistance. But I think Virat Kohli is a better captain of fast bowlers than he is of spinners. And somewhere in that proclivity of Virat Kohli's, Kuldeep Yadav suffers. Personally, I'd like to see him play, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Thank you. Joe, what are we going to do, man? What are we going to do? Do we just start afresh, tear it up? What changes do you expect England to make?
I think genuinely you could make a case for like half of the team changing around. Honestly, I think obviously Dom Sibley's going to stay in, and Crawley will stay in.
Do you feel like Dom Sibley's under pressure? There's a slither of pressure.
See, that's the thing. Like, he got 80 or what was it, 80, 90 in the first test. Well, I can't remember exactly what he got.
87, I think it was.
Yeah, and then he got, he obviously got that half century out in Sri Lanka. But aside from that, he's not actually done very well. He's not got a substantial. He's got 2 starts, effectively starts for the standards he wants to hit. Their starts, he wants to be getting hundreds, and apart from that, he's got very low scores. So he needs to almost needs, as well as obviously them big scores, he almost needs those sort of middle ground scores of like 50s and 60s, just to kind of, or even 40.
A 30 would be nice. A 35 exactly. Would be nice.
Just to kind of almost eliminate any doubt in his mind. But I think he will probably play. It won't surprise me if Rory Burns came back into the side, although he doesn't necessarily deserve that. I only think the reason that will happen is because, as much as I hate to say it, I feel like Johnny might get dropped. And I know
for Dan Lawrence.
A massive no, for Burns. It wouldn't surprise me if Burns came back in.
Crawley back at 3.
Yeah. Although I do think Crawley is a natural opener more than number 3. I don't know what
that first innings.
Yeah, he was quality. He was quality, and as I said at the start, him and Rohit proved you can't actually bat on this wicket if you apply yourself, and that's exactly what he did. And he's 21, 22, and he's scoring Test 50s on a wicket in India where it's notoriously hard to bat as a tourist. On a pitch where every other batter fell to pieces. Even Root and Kohli, who were 2 of the best batters of the generation, could not buy a run on that wicket. So they had to work so hard. So as much as I hate to say it, I'm worried Johnny Bairstow is going to get dropped. I don't know what he was doing, especially in that second innings. That was the first ball. It was just an awful shot, and he was very lucky. He didn't deserve any more than a pair in that game. And then aside from that, I think England generally have to change most of their bowling attack. It wouldn't surprise me if Jimmy didn't play, just because he bowled more overs than Broad in this. You obviously have to manage them real carefully now. Broad and Anderson out there.
I think he bowled 13 overs. I mean, I think he's fit enough to go again if you need him
Even
to.
So, he's playing in India, which is obviously it's boiling hot in India. He's not fit. Just he's had a lot of injuries. So maybe they'll want to be a little bit more careful, thinking ahead to the summer as well, where him and Broad probably will play every test. As long as they're fit, they probably will. And I can't remember who it was who said it. I read it somewhere on Twitter. I think it might have been Ian Bell, and he said, "You won't get India coming to England and resting and rotating their best players. You won't get India coming to England and not playing one of their best batters. Rahane, for example, won't get a rest just because he's played a lot of cricket. You go there to win." And I think England have been really naive in their team selection. So, yeah, I think they need to almost make a statement. They need to play at least 2 spinners. Maybe we'll see 3 spinners. They need to play at least one of Broad or Anderson. And they need to play at least one of... to be honest, I would play Mark Wood just because I feel like he needs game time.
Not Ollie Stone?
I think Ollie Stone is good, but I just think Mark Wood is the kind of player who I don't think he's going to be around for much longer. He's 31 now, and he's very injury prone. So I don't think his career is going to be as elongated as other seamers, purely because of the pacey balls. He regularly hits 150 kilometers an hour. So I think while you've got Mark Wood, you've got to make the most of him because he's an X factor. He's an X factor bowler. Save Archer for the white ball series. Really try and gun for that, and try and make a statement in the T20s as well. With that in mind, of the World T20 in what 8 months, 6 months, 8 months. You've really got to bear that in mind, I think, as well. So I think a lot of England's selection will depend on that. Also, I don't know what Ollie Pope was doing in the second innings, his first ball, when England are in really big trouble. He comes and plays a switch hit. You know,
I think he is very unsure of his technique on those wickets. He looks like a guy whose head is scrambled when I've seen him in the crease. He's so busy. He's like a jack in a box. I think he's actually too nervous and doesn't really trust his game, to be completely honest. That's what I see at Ollie Pope. And he's a very talented batsman, but the reality is I think Ollie Pope has now played 16 test matches and scored 100. Now, England will be patient. And the thing is, not much will happen in this series. I don't think there'll be a huge amount of changes because there's no one really sitting in the changing room ready to set the place. I don't see Burns come back in because what has he done in the first couple of tests? Nothing. So why would you bring him in? Do you know what I mean? Like, you're bringing one dud in for another dud. Do you know what I mean? So stick with the same dud. Do you know what I mean? You may as well. Yeah. Because I don't think Roy Burns has come on. And I'm a Surrey fan. You know what I mean? I'm a Surrey fan, and I don't rate Roy Burns high enough in Test match cricket. I think his technique is all over the shop. Johnny Bairstow is never a Test match number 3 over a period of time. That being said, I would stick with JB. I'd stick with him for this Test match because he's got a good record against spin.
I absolutely would. I'm a massive Johnny Bairstow.
He's got a good record against spin, so give the guy another opportunity. Everyone messed up in this Test series. You test this Test match. You can't base it on what happened this Test. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, that's why I think as well. If Moeen Ali had obviously stayed with the squad, I think we would have seen him get a go up the order.
Could you not play Ben Stokes at 3?
See, that's the thing. I was thinking they may have done that in the very first Test. They may have done that when there was no Bairstow and when we knew for a fact there were going to be no Crawley due to his injury. I thought they may have batted Stokes at 3. I mean, he showed he can open the batting in the IPL against some top quality spinners and scores 100. I know, different format, sure, but the principles are the same. He's batting against a cricket ball in India against spin. The principles are the same. So, it's going to be very interesting.
The number 3 spot's a real problem for him. The top 3 is a massive problem because for me, Sibley and Crawley are deserving of the top 2. But your number 3, Root doesn't want it.
No.
Johnny Bairstow not good enough at long term. Dan Lawrence away from home. Pope I don't think is good enough yet. Anyway, he's played batting 6 and not making anything. So what's the point? But then I think like Dan Lawrence, it's like lamb to the slaughter. Like chucking him in at 3. What are they doing? Like a young 23-year-old.
It's not smart, is it? And
it's almost like just you get in it when you in village cricket when you're picking your side, and the one guy and no one wants to bat in the top order. Like no one wants to open the batting. Oh yeah, I'll go in at 5, mate. You know what I mean? Like you have those chats.
I think the reason for that is obviously in an international case they're scared of getting out early. They're scared of being the first victim almost of India's attack, because that's the fact is India's spinners, especially Axar and Ashwin, were phenomenal in this Test. And I don't know why Axar didn't really play in the second Test. I didn't understand that, but they were phenomenal. So
the first Test,
in this Test, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, and they were very, very good in this Test, of course. So it's almost like fear factor. It's almost like that. That's why I think Sam Curran would have been great for this series. He's played in India loads. I'm not saying he should have batted 3 at all, but he would have been almost shoring up that batting lineup. He could have batted 8 in this Test, and maybe things would have been different. He's the kind of player who he'll just swing from the hip, and that's what England needed. Maybe England needed a quick fire 50 off 30. Sorted. Yeah. Got a bit more lead. You're back in the game.
Yeah. Sorry to you 3. I could go on for ages about this. It's a complete minefield. I mean, we've got a couple of comments here from Aaron, who's piped up with one directed at Joe here. Anything to say about Sibers Joseph?
Well, as I said, I don't know if he needs a middle ground score. He needs a 30, 40, 50. That's what he needs to really almost cast that doubt out of his mind. He needs that in 100 for me because he's got 2 decent scores and the rest fails for me. That's what he needs.
A little bit of beef on the next Can't Create podcast, I can see. A little bit of tension to start there. And then another one from Aaron. Sam Hain at 3 going to be sorted. You know what? I wouldn't mind Sam Hain at 3 because...
Well, they can try him, can't they?
Hey, why not? Hey, why not? We'll go obviously onto Sayan and then finish with Emily. So Sayan, just quickly on your points on the Indian team selection. What would you go and change for the 4 test?
I would love to see Kuldeep back in place of Washington, but I think Kohli has lost his confidence in him. So unchanged, basically.
Unchanged. Emily? In fact, you tell me both sides.
Right,
both sides.
Okay. I don't know. Like, I was thinking about England, and I was thinking about Chris Wokes, and I'm not sure if there's space for him, but you know,
he's gone home.
I mean,
he's gone home. Yeah, he just been announced he's going home.
Okay, so
yeah,
never mind. No Chris Wokes. But yeah, I definitely. I mean, I saw a tweet. I read it the other day on Twitter that, you know, India picked 3 spinners and England picked 1, and one team's going to be horribly wrong. And I mean, we saw who was wrong in that test match. So I mean, obviously they're going to have to bring in another spinner. Dom Bess, the obvious choice. So yeah, they'll go in with Dom Bess and Jack Leach. I think they would probably bring in Anderson for Broad because, you know, as you've seen, they've sort of rotated Anderson and Broad. And yeah, and then I'm not sure if Archer. I mean, I think Joe said it. You know, Archer, I mean, he's got good pace, but he's not necessarily a natural swing bowler, so perhaps not Archer. So yeah, I think Archer might miss out. And then in India, I think they'll probably stick with the same side. I'd also love to see Kuldeep, but you know, Washi provides the extra batting spot over there. You know, we know Washington can score runs, even though he scored absolutely nothing in the first in this test. But yeah, so they'd probably stick with the same, and England would bring in. I mean, could England bring in 3 spinners? They don't have another spinner, do they? Like in the squad.
So there's 3 in reserves. There's 3 in reserves. So there's Amar Verdi, Matt Parkinson, and Mason Crane. So they can call upon them, but.
Oh yeah, Matt Parkinson, right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see Parkinson.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course you would.
He's only played like a few test matches for England, right? Like 2 or something.
No, he's played 2 ODIs and...
Yeah.
Oh, so
he's played no ODI. He's played no ODI.
Okay.
Yeah.
He played against South Africa, I think. I remember him playing against South Africa.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe someone makes their debut. I don't know. Maybe 3 spinners, but
that's the thing. They may as well take a risk. The way I see it is they can't win the series. They can only... The best thing they can hope for is Australia getting in the final if they don't want India to. That's the only thing.
Would you like that?
If Australia got in the final, would I like that? Yeah, I'm okay for that. That'd be good. Australia and New Zealand final. That'd be all right.
No.
No, I want New Zealand to play India. I want India to get through to the final and lose by 1 wicket to New Zealand. That's what I want. Just the retribution. I'm not bitter, me. I'm not bitter fan, me. You know? Listen, I'm just joking around. Listen, I think what's need to mention here, it doesn't matter what wicket was ultimately being prepared in this test match. India are simply a better side on the Indian conditions. Just a fact. They're a better... I said this, if you remember, to the first test preview show we did, Aditya. I'm not sure, Sayan, you were there. I said, man for man, India are a far better side than England. And the only way England are going to win is some kind of internal implosion and just a mental breakdown, just a meltdown from India, maybe over 2 sessions. That was the only way that England were going to win a test match in this series. And I firmly believe that India will go and close out the show. That's what I think is going to happen. I think there's the better side ultimately. They're switched on. They want it, obviously, after what happened in the first test match. The wickets are prepared for them. I don't see anything but an India win in the 4th test match and a 3-1 victory. But, you know, good points, guys. I appreciate that. I mean, by the way, I agree with Aaron here. He's talking about Ollie Stone being reselect. I agree. I think Ollie Stone should come in, probably for Broad. You know,
Ollie
I think
Pebble.
this one
Ollie.
he loves his Yorkshire players, but I think Ollie Stone will play for Broad. I think that could happen. I wouldn't go Mark Wood. I'd probably go Stone. Best must come in, and it probably possibly for Anderson, and they both go and Archer stays. And the batting, I don't see a change in the batting. I think it's like the same batting lineup. I think they'll go with the same top order. Obviously, we know Wilkes is going to bat at 7. It's a shame Butler's not there, but anyway, it's another question. Aaron, is the last comment we just got to take, so we're going to finish up here. 3 Lions cap or baggy green? Which one would you rather wear?
Three Lions.
Say the latter.
Hey, 3 Lions all the way long. 3 Lions. I'm England born and bred. Love it. Joffre, favourite player. Johnny, favourite player. Can't beat it. Cannot beat it. So there you go.
You say, why do you say the latter? Why do you say the baggy green?
Yeah, nah. Hey, I respect Australia and I respect their banter more than anything. I think they've got good banter. Better banter than
we will hear plenty of banter in about 8 months' time, that's for sure. 9 months' time. Anyway, okay, right. So, quick fire. I've given my prediction. India win the test and the series. Joe?
India win the test and the series. Can't. No way I can say anything else.
Aditya?
Mate, I predicted 4-0 at the beginning of the series.
Your heart was broken then.
There you go.
India wins the test in the series. Yeah.
Emily?
I think regardless of the pitch, I mean, yeah, I still think India will probably win. So I'm also going to go with the test and the series, yeah.
Sayan?
India wins 3 days. In 3 days.
Yeah, I think a more interesting question is, how many days will the test match last?
1.
That's more of an interesting. 1. Yeah, can you imagine that? Bloody hell. Anyway, we'll wrap it up there, guys. I think it depends on the wicket. Hopefully, give us something to work with. Him and Joe, a little bit to work with. At least you drag out to a third day. It'd be quite nice. Anyway, guys, where can we find you, Joe?
My Twitter is there at Nutsy99, so feel free to follow me.
And we also can find you on the County Cricket Podcast.
Yes, and on the County Cricket. I should have plugged that. Yeah, apologies. The County Cricket Podcast. Go and listen to that. We also are on Twitter, which I'll be honest, I can't remember the username for. But if you search the County Cricket Podcast, it'll come up at the County Cricket 2. There you go. That's it. So yeah, go and find that.
Aditya?
On Twitter and Instagram, Aditya Mehta. On Facebook, Aditya Mehta, and I'm frequently on Cricket Fanatics magazine. So you can find me there too.
Emily?
On Twitter, at M_Norris with 3 S's. Instagram at m.norris. And I also appear on Offside Maidens, Cricket Fanatics mag, and their daily shows podcast. Sometimes I appear there too, and also write some articles for them. So yeah, check out their website. You'll find some stuff from me there.
I actually called the Offside Main show yesterday, hence me texting Emily this morning, because it was really, really good. And Emily's exceptional. Her insight into the CSA challenge was really good. I also like how you dressed down some of the other guests when they tried to compare. I think it was Axar Patel and Chris Morris was compared. And Emily was like, what are you doing comparing Axar Patel and Chris Morris?
Yeah, I think, no, so I think, they were trying to say, like, how good Axar is or whatever, but I'm like, one's a spinner and one's a pace bowler. Like, you can't compare them at all, but yeah.
Just before I get signed, just quickly say, speaking of Chris Morris, Dolphins, I made it 5 out of 5.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we beat Titans. Morris the through to Morris in the playoff tomorrow against Lions to up against us on Sunday.
Come on,
so
the Lions.
Good.
Coming into the
Lions.
coming into the tournament, I was like, the Titans are winning this tournament, like they're taking it, but now they're out. So yeah, I think I agree with Joe though. I think the Lions are winning this one.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. I have a loose ties to the Lions, very, very loose. But
we're going to win. Dolphins going to win 6 out of 6. You see. I don't care how good the lines are. You're going to see it. So this is our ground, home to Kingsmead. Staying in Kingsmead.
What about the Warriors? No chance for the Warriors?
I think Warriors. What they've done is they've peaking at the right time. They lost first three, then there was the other two with a bonus point, and they've really started to hit the straps. So they're looking good side. You never know. Maybe get a JJ special in tomorrow. They're going to need it. So interesting. Sayan, sorry, I'm a bit delayed getting back to you, but where do we find you, Sayan? Please, I want to know where we find you and what's your handle.
You can find me at Instagram at BustYourNut, or you can search my name also.
Bust Your Nut, guys. A lot of India fans in busting their nut over the last 2 days, I'm sure. Bloody hell. Anyway, this is Uneven Bounce, guys. We're not formal here. I'm not even missing my videos. It's all good. It's all jokes, guys. Anyway, the funny thing is a lot of people will see this video based on the views for the last 3 shows, so you get into it. Anyway, thanks so much, guys, coming on. I'll see Joe and Emily first time on the show. Great to have you and get Joe. I appreciate your passionate opinion on English cricket as always. Emily, wonderful insight as always, and Aditya and Sayan, thank you so much again for appearing. So obviously the 4th test starts on the 4th of March. So we're back for the final review show whenever that happens, most likely over the weekend, and we'll see you there. All right, cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Cheers.